Good afternoon. Welcome to the Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum. Thank you for joining us today for this Lunch and Learn program. As we continue our theme of A Salute to Veterans, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Bill Turner with the Kansas Office of Veteran Services to discuss how they help Kansas veterans connect. Before we welcome him, I just want to point out that we also have the Kansas Office of Veteran Services out in the lobby to answer any questions that you might have. So welcome, Mr. Turner.
Can you hear me okay, ma'am?
There we go. You're live.
Okay, you can hear us okay, though?
Yes,
Okay.
we're good to go.
I apologize. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for allowing us to participate in your program here today. It really is a great honor and privilege to be able to participate, and kind of especially in this setting. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, but I know that we have several people there, starting with our Director of Operations, I believe, is in the room, Rob Light, who has been with us for about 3 years, and former Army signal officer, and has served in a variety of assignments around the Army. And
Okay, Mr. Turner, it appears there's been a disconnect from your microphone. So if your headset is plugged in correctly, you might need to go. There we go. I think you're back. Still having issues. Can you do a mic check?
how about now?
There you go. We are good to go. Thank you.
I apologize, and if at any point, at some point, this becomes too difficult this way, I'm sure Rob can step in and address the key points that we have here today. But I was talking about Rob being there, and then we also have a couple of individuals I know that are out in your lobby area, the Veteran Service.
Can you hear me okay this way? Is this okay?
Yes, that works.
Okay. I'm going to try to go without this and just use my computer mic, and we'll go that way.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a couple of our veteran service representatives. There's Kenneth and Michael out in the lobby there they kind of serve as the foundation for all that we do, and provide us the opportunity to reach out and connect with the veterans out in your communities, out in the rural locations, the urban locations, and they're able to provide the services to help veterans from a number of ways. And we'll address that here in a moment as we kind of go through these slides. But again, I thank you for all that are out there that are former service members or maybe even current, and really for the communities as well, for those that support our veterans here in the state of Kansas. We receive tremendous support from all sides, and we are most gracious and for all the support and all the work that's done out there to assist our veterans to improve their qualities of life and to help enable them to find places here in Kansas where we can live, work, retire, raise our families, and continue to prosper. So thank you all very much for your service. So I'll pause for a moment. I believe you have the slides there that you could pull up. I saw just pop up. Is that? Okay. Let me see if so I can see the slides that are up there now. I think just the title slide, and then if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. So I know this is just kind of a quick agenda that describes a little bit about what we would like to talk about this afternoon with you. It starts with kind of an overview of our agency. We'll talk then a little bit more specifics about what we are doing in regard to several of these different areas, these programs that we focus on. And then at the end, we'll have an opportunity to talk some question and answer, if you will. And like I said, I know Rob is in the room there with you, and there may be several things here that he might be better suited than to answer or talk to, especially if we get into discussions about kind of legislative matters and things that have happened here recently, and where we hear feedback from veterans. But then I'd also like to hear if you all have feedback, or you have ideas or things that you think that we can do to better serve veterans in the state, or if there are things that you would like to see us try to advocate for to further kind of promote veterans here within the state. That is our primary role here, is to advocate for and support the veterans in our state. We kind of become that, I like to refer to it as a connective tissue between our veterans and our communities out there in the state of Kansas and the federal VA. A lot of times when we start talking to folks in groups, we find out that a lot have a tough time is probably distinguishing between the idea that we are a state entity. We work for the governor of the state, and as such are representing veterans and citizens here within Kansas. But we work with and coordinate with the federal VA on everything from the Veterans Health Administration to the Veterans Benefits Administration, across a myriad of topics and myriad of areas to help veterans resolve issues, to help them get access to benefits and compensation and health care that they have earned. So if you can, go to the next slide, please. So it's a little bit of a busy slide, and I'm going to try to walk you through this a little bit to kind of orient you. In the center blue circle there talks to kind of 4 operational areas, if you will, lines of effort that we focus on here to support the veterans. So if we start kind of from the middle and work our way out, I'm going to talk and start with the upper left quadrant there and speak to some of the things there related to veteran services. From there, I'll move down to the lower left, down to our veterans homes in the state. And then we'll move up to the upper right to the cemeteries program, and then down to the lower right quadrant is kind of our central office operations and those things that we are doing from that perspective to help bring together various agencies from the federal and local side to help support veterans. So in the upper left-hand side, you can see veteran services is really kind of serves the foundation for all that we do. We have about 180 to 185,000 veterans in the state of Kansas. State of Kansas is about, I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.8 to 2.9 million citizens right now. And so when you take our number of veterans, that 180,000 on the low end, and you couple that with the dependents that are associated with those veterans, you're probably talking about a number that we represent roughly, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 10, 11, 12% of the society makeup profile, if you will, in the state of Kansas. So really quite a large representation of folks, believe it or not, when you look at all the various groups that come together here in the state. And as such, our focus is on trying to reach out, to connect with, and to service those veterans across the state. Here a little bit later on another slide, we'll talk through a kind of a geographic distribution of where the veterans are in our state as we see it. And I can talk to some of the ways that we're using those numbers, that analysis, to try to get out there to connect with everybody, to make sure that they are informed and advised on what benefits they may be eligible for and how they can go about gaining access to them. So as you can see there, we have 23 veteran service reps in our organization. The total of our organization is about 350 folks, but the large majority of that number are resident in our veterans' homes, where we have roughly in the neighborhood of 260 to 270 staff members who support the operations at each of those respective veterans' homes. But within veteran services, we have the 23 veteran service reps that are distributed across 16 different field offices. And we'll show you that on a subsequent slide here, kind of how they're arrayed based on the the population in the various areas around the state. We also have 3 mobile vehicles out there. These are big vans that are wrapped with various symbols and photographs of military service members and equipment. And they are actually outfitted such that they are like individual little offices that are set up in there, and they have all the capabilities to connect online with the federal VA systems, our state systems, and they can help to gain access to information for the veterans and to help research, and then ultimately to file any claims that a veteran may have. We use the mobile services oftentimes to go out to various community events, everything from county fairs to various county events like car shows or other activities that maybe veteran service organizations in that area, in that region, may be convening and putting together, coordinating, and then they ask us to come support that. So it's a neat way, a neat opportunity for us to reach out into your areas and to go occupy space there and to make ourselves visible. And these folks go out and they'll do everything from handing out information and informing folks to actually being able to file claims or to look at information for them. So it's a great opportunity, great asset to have. These folks also have gone out to, they'll go out to various on-site locations such as a Walmart, a Target, a shopping center where we coordinate with to be able to reach out to places where we think veterans may be frequenting, and then we'll try to market that and to get it publicized as best we can several weeks ahead of time so that you can know that we're going to be out in that area and that this asset is available to you to use. The next thing down there, you'll see we do have a quality assurance office that is located in Wichita. And our quality assurance folks there, you have a small team, 3 people there, that we take in all of the claims, the transactions that are being coordinated and conducted by our veteran service representatives out in the field. And they will actually funnel through our quality assurance cell, and they're able to give a quick overview cursory check. Now, they are not reviewing all of the content of a particular claim to determine, to make a determination, so to speak, on how it may be adjudicated, how it may be rated. But what they do is they look at it from a high up overview, if you will, to make sure all that the proper fields are filled out, that administratively that this thing won't get kicked back 2 or 3 months later when it's getting viewed by somebody, and then it comes back and they say that this wasn't filled out properly or you need to add these additional documents. As best they can, they are looking at to make sure the forms are filled out properly, and then they are looking to make sure that the attachments that it says it has or all the supporting information that it makes reference to is inclusive in that packet and organized as it goes out the door. And they enjoy great success. We enjoy great success. I say difficult for me to take credit for it because this team of folks are doing really incredible work there to help to look at all this information and to make sure. And they probably have a success rate of, and I'm being conservative with the thing, but believe it or not, it's probably up over 98% of the claims that get through there. They do a great job of meticulously going through it and getting it passed off to our federal VA partners to be reviewed and developed further for that claim. The last part there, you can see there's a thing called the State Approval Agency. And these folks is a team of 3 people there that are focused on efforts there that help to really to validate curriculums at various educational institutions around our state, which then in turn enable the veterans to use their GI Bill to go out and pursue educational interests that they have, again, to improve their ability there with their educational opportunities. So there's a number of aspects to that. We can talk to that a little bit more if you have more questions, but that's kind of the core of what they do, is to help validate those organizations, validate their curriculums so that the veteran can use their GI Bill at those locations. If we move down to the lower left corner, we have the state veterans homes. Very proud of these. We have 2 of these, one in Winfield, Kansas and Southeast. It's a former state hospital that's there that has been repurposed, if you will, reconfigured for us to use. And Right now, currently, they have about 105 residents are there, and it spans across long-term care, domiciliary care, assisted living care that they provide to veterans in that area. Largely, the large part of the population probably comes within 100 miles of that area. So that's a great facility there. It's been a 5-star facility. The superintendent there, Kiefer Peel, and his team do a great job. And I want to say it's something like 14 of the last 15 quarters now, they have achieved a 5-star rating in the administrative care, long-term care capabilities that they provide there. Great facilities, great staff, and really a great opportunity that is very affordable for our veterans to be able to use and to tap into. We also have out at Fort Dodge, another veterans home. They have right now approximately, it's like 85 to 86 residents there. At Fort Dodge, you actually have a larger footprint of a thing there. It's actually on the grounds there, the original Fort Dodge from back in the 1860s. It has been in service as a soldier's home for years, dating back to there in the turn of the century when they came, when they made the conversion over. And again, very proud of that organization and all that they do there. They do have some cottages there. They have upward of 50 cottages that are available, that veterans that have the ability to exercise kind of more independent living styles can come in there and use. We also have assisted living there in one of the facilities on that campus. And then the primary care that is provided is for long-term care facility in a central location in a place called Halsey Hall, where they have the ability to do that. At both homes, they do have the ability to provide specific specialty care for those that may require care for memory loss, memory issues, dementia. And so they do have that set up and along a different area there within each of those facilities to be able to serve veterans in that realm. There at the end of that, you can see a bullet there that talks to a new veterans home. And I'll talk to a little bit more detail about that later, but this has to do with an initiative that started years ago, probably back in the neighborhood of 2020, 2021, coming out of COVID, and demonstrating the need for an additional veterans home here within our state. And so we have been working at this now for the better part of the last 4 years to work through the architecture and the engineering design for a new 72-bed facility in Topeka is where it's scheduled to be located at right now, adjacent to the Colmary O'Neill VA Eastern Kansas Healthcare Center. So very excited about that. The plans for that are complete. The funding, the state has already appropriated dollars to us. A little over $17 million has been allocated here from the state, and we actually have those funds in hand. That's been helping us to pay the expenditures for the architect and engineering design and the various surveys, the geological, the environmental surveys that must be conducted in order to initiate construction on the site. What we have done is we've applied for a federal grant, and the federal grant would offer the other roughly $32+ million that would be needed to complete the project. So in total, the project is close to $50 million, a little less than $50 million, and $17 million from the state, which represents 35% that they need to match with. And the other 65% would be that $32 million from the federal government. We are on their top priority list. So we've met all the gates there, and they've approved all of our plans to move forward with this. It just boils down to receiving the federal funding and to get those dollars appropriated from Congress and then through the federal VA, and then for the federal VA to assign this down to the state construction grant program that's there. So people ask where they can help us from time to time. That's where we continue to ask folks to engage with your federal delegations, with the congressmen, the senators from our great state, that help them carry that message back. And they all know this. We coordinate with them fairly regularly. They understand. They've been supporting us along the way. And so but it's a continual process to work toward that. If you can move up to the upper right-hand quadrant, we have 4 state veteran cemeteries. Again, unique privilege for us to be able to offer this tribute, to allow veterans to have the honor and dignity to be placed in a state veteran cemetery in their final resting place that is really befitting of the service that they provided to our nation. We operate under strict standards under the National Cemeteries Administration, so we're under the same similar standards that you might see at an Arlington National Cemetery, even that is an Army cemetery. But for all the national cemeteries, such as one that exists at Fort Scott, and there's another one up at Leavenworth on the grounds there by the federal VA there at the Eisenhower VA. So we have a small contingent of folks, it's 19 right now, that operate these 4 cemeteries, from the equipment operators to the admin assistants that help do coordination with folks to the cemetery managers. And our cemetery program director is Heidi Goff, who does tremendous work there to oversee those operations at the 4 cemeteries. We inter, on average now, the last 3-4 years, it's been on average about 450 to 460 interments a year. And about, on average, 70 to 80 of those interments have been spouses or maybe disabled dependents who were still primary dependents of the veteran at the time of their passing that have access to or eligible to be interred there. So lots of opportunities there as well. And they've also worked hard at reaching out to the communities, and they have over 9,000 folks that have pre-certified to come be a part of these dignified locations, and when the time is appropriate at that point. So they do great work, and very proud of that. A couple of our cemeteries have won national level awards for their operations here recently at Waukene and at Fort Dodge. And they just do phenomenal work to care for the grounds in their execution of these solemn ceremonies. Just everything about them from A to Z has been fantastic. So that's something I encourage our veterans to view, to take advantage of. There's a lot of history in these locations to pass on to folks too. Well, I'll touch on that a little bit later, another slide too. In the bottom right talks to our central office and our ability it talks about to advocate and integrate. So while we have these, the 3 other programs that we spoke to in terms of the cemeteries, the homes, and the quality health care and the veteran services, at the central office level, we're kind of looking outside of our agency and how can we better coordinate with other state agencies, local communities, federal agencies, and how can we work together to share information, to collaborate, and to synchronize our efforts to better serve the veterans in our state, looking for opportunities for ways that we can do that. So as such, there's a number of things, again, from outreach events and reaching out into different rural communities, doing that, to working with federal legislators, state legislators on various legislative items that may help veterans and improve their quality of life, and to really kind of attract veterans and want to encourage veterans to want to stay here to live, work, and retire. So that's kind of what that's all about. Inclusive in that is also, there is a focus inward on how do we maintain and sustain our staff and our operations to best serve our veterans around the state. So I can pause there that's a one over the world. We'll go into a little bit, touch on some other aspects as we move through some slides, but I'll pause if there's any questions there from the group. I apologize, I can't see folks there right now. So if there's somebody might have to help me out if there's one, or to speak up that way.
Say it out loud.
I cannot hear if there's something.
So if there are questions in the room, Joy will type them into the chat for us. We'll
Fair
manage
enough.
it that way.
I
Mhm.
appreciate that. I'll continue then. I'll look for that as well then.
Great. Yep, I think we can just move forward. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. As you go to the next slide, please, then. So this we talked to a little bit. We talked about kind of the services that are provided there for our veterans there. This is the veteran service piece. Kind of talks about everything from the educational opportunities there and assisting with that, to employment, to the non-service connected pension benefits, the service connected disability, so pensions, benefits. They also deal with, it talks about there, the spouse independent benefits. So the indemnity clauses and being able to help folks, veterans who have passed away, to help their surviving family members to continue to receive benefits. And then, of course, the VA healthcare, which we kind of work hand in glove with the federal VA folks, and we work hard to have them, to be present with us wherever we go out at different locations, to be able to support. In the past, we relied a great deal on their folks like Shelley Sweeney, who works with us now, who used to work with the Eastern Kansas VA healthcare, who has tremendous knowledge of the VA healthcare system and would work to help connect veterans in the healthcare piece. And she is now working with us now in terms of similar, but probably a little bit more expanded in terms of working on outreach opportunities that talk to all the benefits from healthcare to the pensions piece and the compensation for various healthcare related items. We also, if you go down there, we have a grant program with the two of our veteran service organizations, the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. And for those of you who may not have heard of this, it's a $1 million now. When I first got to the organization, I want to say it was right around a $700,000 grant, and it was $350,000 to each service organization. And what they do is they use those dollars to help augment operations that they are conducting at the VA healthcare systems in Wichita, Topeka, and Leavenworth. They also operate at the VA regional office down there in Wichita, which now had moved out of the immediate area of the Dole Center in Wichita. They have occupied it in a different facility, and our service organizations have representatives there as well. So it's now increased over the last couple of years and is up to $1 million. And again, this helps to enable them to hire a couple extra people, and they distribute their staffing, if you will, based on the numbers that they are seeing in each of these facilities. They do just great and tremendous work, but not only at those facilities where a great number of our veterans are going to visit for healthcare needs, but they also lean hard on all of the posts and chapters around the state to reach out to the folks that are out in the communities to help with those service officers, help to connect veterans back to them, or even to bring them to us out in those locations. So we work together to better serve the veterans that way. So their service officers are doing essentially the same as what our veteran service reps do. They are trained, accredited, we're cross-accredited amongst ourselves to be able to look at, observe, and assist veterans in whoever, if they're aligned with VFW or Legion. And so really a great asset. So that is my term, I guess, I kind of consider them combat multipliers for us across the state. So if we have 23 service reps, you can probably almost nearly double that. They probably have in the neighborhood of another 17 to 20 between those two organizations. And while they are, like I said, while they are fixed, they are anchored to those healthcare systems and the VA regional office in Wichita, they are also taking advantage of their service officers across the state. And then lastly, there again, you can talk to the state approval agency, which I had already mentioned. The one thing I did not mention about the state approval agency is that these folks also, there's a program whereby veterans that leave may not want to use their GI Bill for educational benefits at this point, but they may be seeking opportunities in employment that might cause them to be or enable them to be part of internship programs, apprenticeship programs. And that's that third bullet down that you see there. It says apprenticeship programs, and it allows them to go out and receive stipends from the VA benefits they receive of the GI Bill. and it kind of can augment any salaries that they receive while they're going through an apprenticeship program for a fixed period of time. What this does require is that employer has to have a formalized, structured apprenticeship program, but great opportunity for our veterans to be a part of that. If you can go to the next slide, please. The next slide talks about our areas of responsibility here. And I believe are you able to pull that up, or it might take a moment? Whoops. Are you able to pull that up, or can you still hear me?
So are you able to see the slides at all? I have the areas of responsibility map on the screen right now.
Okay. I think I see it now there. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So these are simply color coordinated here, color coded, so that we can see where our veteran service reps I spoke to previously. These are the 16 field offices around the state. So for example, from all the way out in the west and southwest, you can see the blue and the yellow where we have one service rep in each of those locations that services probably upward of anywhere from 1,100 veterans, possibly up to 1,500-1,600, to way out in the east county area, Johnson County, Wyandotte, and the Leavenworth area, where we may have upwards of over 30 to 40,000, closer to probably 40,000 veterans, just condensed in those locations around the Kansas City area. As you move a little bit more towards the center, we have some more postured in the Manhattan and Junction City areas. We have two in Manhattan, one of which is with you, is Kenneth, and he works with another gentleman there in his office there, and in Junction City. And between them, they all have probably upwards of about 25 to 30,000 veterans in their catchment area, if you will. And then moving a little bit further to the west in Saline and out to Hayes, again, we have a couple others there that are helping there. So this just kind of shows you how we're arrayed around the state. This map also shows you, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, the little red cross key, where you have community-based outpatient clinics. These are little miniature healthcare facilities that are satellites, if you will, of the bigger VA facilities in Topeka, Wichita, and Leavenworth. And they do offer in some cases, some specialty care, but they are out there trying to provide services to veterans that may be needed, that are a little bit further away. They can't get all that. It makes it easier for them to be able to access, in addition to community care facilities that are on the grounds there. The rest of the coding here, you can kind of see, we've already talked about, has to do with our mobile van, where they're located, where they're kind of parked at, and how we use them to operate around the state. And then also our veteran cemeteries and our veterans homes. If you go to the next slide, please, and this talks to our veteran services. For some reason, maybe I'm not. Are you okay with that? Do you see that up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So again, a little bit busy. I apologize. But if you look all the way out to the right, to the total numbers there in the blue and the gold, you see in our state, we receive almost $2.4 billion, $2.4 billion from the federal VA each year. And then it's broken down in these categories that you see off to the left in terms of educational, vocational rehab, medical care, obviously takes a big chunk of it. But then to the far left, you see the compensation and benefits. And you can see the comparisons over the years, the blue being those numbers from FY23 and the ones over to the right, FY24. We don't have kind of the next set of data that'll be coming up here from 25. But what this is telling us is that these are federal dollars that come back into our state that directly support Veterans Administration activities in these respective areas. And what I'd ask that you kind of focus on are the two to the far left. The medical care dollars, these are largely associated with dollars that go back in to take care of Veterans Health Administration areas, primarily, again, at the healthcare facilities in the three big hospitals and then the C box. But then also it covers the veterans community-based care, that they may be receiving out at different locations. So that's a large chunk you can see there of almost a little over $1 billion. But then there's also the $1.185 billion out there in compensation and pension. And what I talk to about that is right now, and I'm just kind of, it's a broad estimate, if you will, but we probably have between 40 to 45% of our veterans receive some form of a VA benefit, meaning it's either in the education and vocational rehab, they're taking advantage of VA healthcare medical benefits, or receiving compensation and pension back. And what these dollars are dollars that are in the far left in terms of that compensation and pension, are dollars that are coming back to services for the veteran, that for claims that have been filed or pensions that they are eligible for. And so these are dollars that are coming back into their pockets from the VA that, again, go back into your communities, helping to pay your rents, your mortgages, your grocery bills, your small businesses that folks go to. These are dollars that these folks have earned and are eligible for as a result of their service, and just a great opportunity for them to go out and to do that. And so if you consider that about 40 to 45% of our 180,000 veterans are receiving these benefits, now you're talking about a little over 70,000, 72,000 veterans that are probably receiving this. That tells you that we have another 100,000 plus who are not. And that becomes our focus. How do we reach out and find those veterans that, for whatever reasons, maybe they were disgruntled, dismayed, didn't have confidence in it from years ago, to the younger generation, if you will, of veterans who don't associate as veterans, don't see themselves as veterans, think that they're okay. I don't need the VA services. I don't want to participate. I don't want to do that. And how do we help them to connect with, and you kind of get on record now, document their service, document the various things that they are experiencing, because it may not be showing up to them right now, but it may manifest when older, 60, 65, 70, and now it's hard for them to go back and tell that story back to when they served in their young 20s, perhaps. And then it becomes a very difficult challenge then to help draw that nexus to things that they did and performed back in our in service to our country, and how do they bring that forward to now, so to receive these benefits. So, but that's where I talk about how do we get to, find these veterans out in the communities. And that's where you all help the most, by really the peer-to-peer, veteran to veteran, talking to small business folks out in your communities that may be employing veterans, talking to other community leaders, because you all know where the veterans are in your communities. And that's where you can help most. If you go to the next slide, please. I'll probably go through a few of these last few here kind of fairly quickly. There's the one here that talks about the homes. You can see there kind of the basic facts and information regarding what their occupancies are. They are each occupying right around the 90, 91% right now in terms of long-term care, which is really where the primary focus is for the veterans coming in there. And that's about where we're at right now. You can see the various associated prices that are charged there for long-term care, domiciliary care, memory unit care. Very affordable, very, when you compare it to a lot of the community-based long-term care facilities out there. And I will put our facilities up against almost any of these across our state. And they kind of offer that added intangible of placing veterans together with other folks who share the same experiences, have the same sense of pride, and the values that we all had and were all inculcated in us as veterans, to come together and to share. And so it's a great privilege and honor for us to be able to serve those folks there. If you go to the next slide, please, is the new veterans home. And this kind of gives you a kind of a snapshot depiction. It's kind of a starship-based design. In the center are where your primary administrative offices are, your superintendent, your director of nursing, your clinical director, and then some of the other associated offices there for the business offices, for the human resources offices, the supply logistics. And then in that common area in the middle too, there's where our kitchen is, our laundry services. There's a bistro, a dining area, a library, a movie area, a general purpose room. And then there's also in the kind of upper left-hand side of that main core building is where we have the occupational and physical therapy capabilities too, where folks can go there to continue to kind of improve with physical therapy. The 4 wings that you see that go off are called households. And so we have 4 different households of 18 rooms each. Each has their own bathroom. It's really a beautiful setting there. And then between the 2 households on the left, there is a connective area there where the nurse stations are. So that allows the nurses and the direct care folks there to be able to kind of move in and out of those neighborhoods to provide services to the veterans as needed. As much as possible, we recognize and respect that this is their living area. This is their home. And so that's the intent there by doing that, is to enable that as much as possible. And then they have little areas that are built in there where they have some multi-purpose rooms set up there. They have lounges set up. They have a dining area. Food is moved from the main kitchen out to those areas as well, where they can reheat, rewarm it, and set it up there to veterans to partake that way too, and to receive visitors into that area. And obviously there's a courtyard located between those 2 households and that form that neighborhood, and they can go out there. That there'll be areas out there for people to collect and to share with one another. The intent is that one of those 4 households that branch off are designed to be memory units. So we'll have the ability there to care for those folks and their specific needs as well. One thing that's not readily seen here is that we do have the ability in the future, should the demand kind of demonstrate, it's built with the idea that we can construct 2 more households onto this facility. So we could add potentially up to another 36 bed facility in the future at the point where we see the need there. And if we go to the next slide, well, let me pause for a moment. In this home, what I didn't, everybody asked, right now, like I said, we have the designs done. It's all about the funding availability from the federal VA at this point, and the federal government. And then the time we go to break ground, we estimate it'll probably take about 18 months to construct this facility. We've done everything we can at this point to ensure the surveys are done, the environmental, the geological, set the conditions there to be able to go break ground and proceed. And the gentleman that's with you there in the room has been our point person for organizing and working this, is Rob Light. So if you have specific questions about that, I would entertain that with him when we're done. And then if you go to the next slide again with the cemeteries program, that touches a little bit more in detail there about the eligibility of our active duty, reserve dependent, and who is eligible there in terms of being able to go in there and to seek their final interments, to include again the dependents that are available. At the very bottom of that, it also talks about 2 ceremonies that we do there each year, the Memorial Day and Wreaths Across America. So communities here in Kansas have been phenomenal about supporting these veterans out there in their communities. We probably have audiences that surpass 250 to 300 at any one of these given ceremonies at each of the 4 cemeteries across the state. So great opportunities to continue the legacy of those that have served before us and all the things that they have done. There's incredible history there. There are initiatives now with the federal VA whereby folks in the Veterans Legacy Program, where they can deposit documents, stories, all kinds of information, to include videos, but possibly as well, that can be uploaded in an area with that veteran to help tell their story and really continue to let people know about what they did and what it meant to serve our nation. So lots of growth going on there. Right now we have just received a federal grant to work on expansion opportunities down at Winfield, and that will open up a new garden down there to support the demand that we are seeing right now into the future to cover us. Really, it's designed to go for the next 8 to 10 years. And we expect to start that work here in the fall time period. It's going out for bid right now to do that. Recently, we've had a new columbarium wall that was constructed down at Winfield, another one out at Fort Dodge. And we're also in the process of building a scattering garden. It was the only cemetery in our state that did not have a scattering garden for ashes for folks, for cremations. And that is being in the process right now too. We're going through the final bid process and how we'll go to get that started and get that done out there as well. So a number of ways that we're able to support veterans in that way. So lots of information here, lots of things, I guess, to look at and consider. I know it's a long time here speaking with you, and I'll pause. I may not be able to hear. I haven't seen anything in the chat group on this right now. But I'll pause if there's any questions or anything that we can do to help further assist. Like I said, there's folks there, Kenneth and Mike are there to help. Any questions or anything, so go any more details of things that we touched on, or if Rob can talk to a lot of the grander other things that are going on there, to include more specifics on legislative items that are being considered the last couple of years and things that may be considered here in the upcoming legislative session. But thank you very much for allowing us to share with you and to be a part of this today.
I don't think we have any questions in the room at this time.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate it. I hope this is somewhat informative for folks and can at least help raise awareness of our efforts and what we're trying to do to support veterans in our state. Also, if anybody has ideas there, and it may be hard, I know there's a little bit of a communication break here, but if things to contribute to, Rob, and be there and take notes on it, we would love to have that feedback. There will likely be a legislative gathering of some folks with veteran service organizations and veterans from across the state. We're looking, I think, around October 20th. Rob can confirm that for the group there. But that'll probably be held at some location back in Topeka at that time frame, and allows the opportunity for veterans to come in and voice their concerns, their ideas, their thoughts about things that can be done to help aid veterans in the state.
So just to close out your portion of this presentation, on the screen we have the website and the phone number for additional information. And as always, you can contact us here at the Eisenhower Library if you need additional information. So with that, we'll turn it over for any questions that may be online or in the room. Please use the chat box. I do see one comment stating excellent comprehensive presentation. So kudos to you, Mr. Turner. Thank you very much.
I apologize. It's so much. I mean, we are very proud of all that we do. And it is kind of a comprehensive program trying to support on many different levels. And so kind of follows the entirety of folks' lives here, I guess. And so very important to us, and it's a privilege for us to be able to serve that way. And I owe great thanks to all of our staff. We've increased our capacity, and the governor's office and the administration have done a lot, in the legislature to allow us to have more capacity to reach out and connect with folks across the state and provide services. So we are grateful for that as well.
Okay, well, with that, it looks like we are not getting any questions from our online audience either. So I think that speaks to what a great job you did with covering the overall topic. So thank you for all of that. I I think we'll just take a moment to go ahead and just wrap things up on this end. For people who would like to learn more information about all of our topics this year being dedicated to our veterans, please check out our whole shebang History in a Minute Reels series and our monthly podcast, Club Eisenhower, available on all of the streaming platforms as well as on our website, eisenhowerlibrary.gov. Of course, a special thank you to our sponsors. We could not do anything here without the assistance from the Eisenhower Foundation, and particularly this year's programming series sponsored by the Jeff Coat Memorial Foundation. Please join us again next month, August 28th, for our Lunch and Learn, where we will be hearing from some of our colleagues in St. Louis to learn more about military personnel records. We appreciate the feedback from everyone, letting us know how we did. There is a QR code on the screen for our virtual audience to scan. And for those of you in the room, of course, there are papers on the table to please fill out. And as always, please join our email list to be the first to know of what's coming down the pike, whether it be upcoming programs or exhibits. And with all of that, we thank everyone so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much.